Imagine this. You're kneeling in frozen mud on the Eastern Front. The ground vibrates beneath your boots, not from artillery, from something heavier, something alive. In your hands is the 3.7cm Pak-36, Germany's standard anti-tank gun. It weighs just over 450 kilograms with its carriage. Light, mobile, once feared, once respected. You've trained on it for years. In Poland, in France. It worked then. Ahead of you, through drifting snow and engine smoke, a dark shape emerges. A T-34. Its engine growls low and constant. A diesel thunder that doesn't scream. It presses. You can smell it now. Hot oil, exhaust, burning clutch plates. The tank isn't rushing. It doesn't need to. You swing the Pak-36 into position. Your loader snaps around into the breach. Your gunner lines up the sight. This is the moment you've rehearsed 100 times. The gun fires. The recoil slams into the carriage. Snow sprays upward. The shot is clean, dead center. Exactly where doctrine says it should go. And then, nothing. No explosion. No breach. No flame. The shell sparks harmlessly against the sloped armour and ricochets away with a metallic shriek, like you've thrown a hammer at a cathedral bell. Inside the tank, you know they felt it. They heard the knock. The T-34 keeps coming. Its 45mm sloped armour, angled at nearly 60 degrees, has just turned your best shot into a joke. Effective armour thickness closer to 70mm. Your Pak-36, even at optimal range, can penetrate barely 35mm under perfect conditions. This is not perfect conditions. This is Russia. Winter. 1941. The tank turret begins to rotate. Slowly, deliberately. You realise something horrifying in that moment. You are not a tank hunter anymore. You are bait. German crews will later give your weapon a nickname. Hier san Klopfgerät, the army door knocker, because that's all it does now. It announces your presence. Inside the T-34, the crew can afford to laugh. Some reportedly do. Soviet tankers later recall watching Pak-36 rounds bounce off their hulls like pebbles. They bang on the inside of the armour and joke with each other. One knock, two knocks, like someone begging to be let in. Outside, where you're kneeling, there is no humour. Your loader is already reaching for another round, hands shaking. You know it won't work, but what choice do you have? Infantry anti-tank weapons are scarce. The Panzerfaust doesn't exist yet. Air support is a rumour. Artillery is hours away. The second shot hits. Another spark, another ricochet. Now the T-34's main gun locks onto you. A 76.2mm cannon, high explosive loaded. You have seconds. This is the brutal reality no manual prepared you for. The Pak-36 wasn't just obsolete. It turned its crew into stationary targets, light enough to move quickly, light enough to die quickly. On the Eastern Front in late 1941, German anti-tank units began suffering catastrophic losses. Entire gun crews wiped out in minutes. Survivability was often measured not in hours but in engagements. One encounter, one tank, one mistake. You scramble. Orders are shouted. Someone screams to abandon the gun, but abandoning it means court-martial. Staying means death. The T-34 fires. The world erupts. The blast flattens the snow around you. Shrapnel scythes through the gun shield. Only 5mm thick, barely enough to stop rifle fire. Useless against tank HE. Men fall. Blood steams in the cold air. The Pak-36 lies twisted, useless, still pointed at the tank that mocked it. And the worst part, High Command still believes this weapon is adequate. You're about to learn how wrong they are. The smoke hasn't cleared yet. Your ears ring so hard it feels like pressure underwater. You can't hear commands, only a high, screaming whine inside your skull. Snow drifts down in slow, lazy flakes, settling on shattered wood and torn fabric. Where the gun crew stood seconds ago, there are bodies now. One man isn't moving at all. Another crawls, fingers digging into the earth, leaving dark streaks behind him. The Pak-36 lies silent between you, its barrel still warm, still pointed at the enemy it failed to stop, and the T-34 is still alive. It rolls past the wreckage with obscene confidence, tracks grinding over frozen ground, over debris, over a body you recognise by the boots. The tank doesn't even bother finishing you off. Infantry will handle that. It has other targets. That's when the truth finally sinks in. This isn't bad luck. This isn't poor aim, this is obsolescence. Only months ago, this gun was the backbone of German anti-tank defence. In 1939, it shredded Polish armour. In France, it punched clean through British Matildas from the side. Commanders praised its mobility, its simplicity, its reliability. Now none of that matters. The Eastern Front has changed the rules. The Soviet Union didn't just bring more tanks, it brought a different kind of tank. Sloped armour, diesel engines, wide tracks that don't bog down in mud or snow. A design that favours survival over elegance. You were never meant to fight this. After-action reports begin piling up. Gun crews report direct hits at 300 metres, at 200, at 100. Shells bounce, shatter, deflect. One unit fires 23 rounds into a single T-34 before being overrun. German officers read these reports in warm headquarters, muscles from the front. Some dismiss them as exaggeration, poor gunnery, low morale, Russian propaganda, so the Pa-36 stays, and men keep dying. You're ordered back into position days later with a replacement crew, new faces, younger, barely trained. You try to explain what happened. You tell them to aim for tracks, vision ports, anything that might slow the tank. But deep down, you know the truth. To stop a T-34 with a Pa-36, you need a miracle, or suicide-level proximity. Some crews wait until tanks are within 30 metres, point-blank range, aiming for the driver's hatch. Sometimes it works. Most of the time, the tank fires first. German casualty rates among anti-tank units spike dramatically during the winter of 1941. Entire platoons vanish. Survivors begin refusing positions. Some abandon guns under fire and flee. Others stay, frozen by duty, fear, or both. You start to notice something worse than death. Mockery. When Pa-36 rounds strike a T-34 now, Soviet tankers sometimes respond. They rev engines. They rotate turrets slowly, theatrically, as if savouring the moment. Infantry riding on the hulls bang on the armour from the outside and laugh. The knock-knock of useless shells becomes a signal. Enemy infantry follows it. Once you fire, you are marked. The weapon that was supposed to protect you has become a beacon, a sound that tells the enemy exactly where you are and exactly how helpless you've become. Rumours spread through the ranks. New guns are coming, larger calibers, the 5cm PaK-38, the 7.5cm PaK-40. But there aren't enough. Production is slow, transport is chaos, rail lines are frozen or bombed. Until then, this is what you have, a door knocker, and every time you touch the trigger you feel it, the suffocating certainty that this gun will not save you. It will only buy you a few more seconds of terror before the tank notices you. The realization isn't dramatic, it's quiet. It settles into your stomach like cold iron. You're no longer fighting to win, you're fighting to be missed. Imagine this. It's dawn again. Or maybe dusk. You've stopped keeping track. The sky is the same colour as old steel, and the cold has sunk so deep into your bones it no longer hurts. It just exists. You're back behind the Pa-36. The shield in front of you is dented and scarred, peppered with shrapnel marks. You know now how thin it is. 5mm of steel, barely thicker than a mess tin. Enough to stop splinters, enough to give the illusion of safety. Nothing more. Your fingers stick slightly to the metal when you grip the controls. Blood froze there earlier. Someone else's, maybe yours. Orders come down the line. Soviet armour reported moving through the tree line. Multiple tanks, likely T-34s again. No one argues anymore. The jokes are gone. The bravado vanished weeks ago. Even the prayers are quieter now, muttered into scarves and collars so no one else can hear the fear in them. You set up anyway, because that's what's left. The first tank appears sooner than expected. Closer. Always closer than you want. You can see infantry riding on the hull, boots dangling, rifles slung casually. They don't even dismount yet. Why would they? Nothing you have can hurt them. Your commander hesitates. He knows firing will give away your position instantly. He knows staying silent might let the tanks pass, or might get you crushed under their tracks. This is the choice the Pa-36 forces on you. Die loud, or die quiet. The order comes. Fire. The shot cracks across the frozen air. The recoil shudders through your shoulders. The round strikes the turret ring and skips away in a spray of sparks. A knock. The tank stops. For half a second, hope flares. A stupid, desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, This time, something worked. Then the turret turns, not hurried, not panicked. It turns like a man standing up after being tapped on the shoulder. The main gun aligns, you see the bore. Dark, wide, final. Someone screams to run. Someone doesn't move at all. The shell hits just short of the gun position, and the blast lifts you off the ground. The pressure slams into your chest like a giant hand. Dirt, ice, and metal fragments tear through the crew. When you hit the ground, you can't feel your legs. For a moment, you think they're gone. Then the pain arrives, white-hot, suffocating, total. You taste blood and soil. The world narrows to breath. In, out, in, out. The Pa-36 is gone now, reduced to twisted metal and splintered wood. The men who served it lie scattered around it, some whole, some not. And the tanks keep moving. This is the breaking point spreading across the German army in late 1941 and early 1942. Not a single battle, not a single order. But a creeping understanding that doctrine has failed, that equipment has betrayed its users. Reports of door-knocker engagements multiply. Morale collapses in anti-tank units. Some crews deliberately aim wide, hoping to avoid retaliation. Others abandon guns before tanks even appear. High command finally reacts. Too slowly. New weapons arrive in small numbers, heavy guns that actually work. But for thousands of men, the realization comes too late. They paid for that delay with their bodies. You lie in the snow, staring at the sky, listening to the tanks fade into the distance. The battlefield smells of cordite, diesel, and burned flesh. The fear isn't sharp anymore, it's heavy. Because you understand now what the Pa-36 really was in this war. Not a weapon, a warning. Imagine this, you survive. Not because the weapon saved you, not because the doctrine worked, but because the blast threw you just far enough, just hard enough, that you weren't killed outright. You wake up hours later in a field dressing station. The air is thick with the smell of antiseptic and rot. Men lie shoulder to shoulder on straw and blood-soaked coats. Some moan, some scream, some stare silently at nothing. Your ears still ring. Your hands won't stop shaking. A medic tells you your legs will heal. Eventually. Shrapnel missed the bone by centimetres. Luck, he says. You don't answer. You don't believe in luck anymore. As you're carried past the entrance, you see another Pa-36 being dragged forward by horses. A fresh crew, clean uniforms, faces you recognise from days ago. Men who haven't fired it yet. You try to warn them. Your voice comes out hoarse, barely audible. Someone tells you to rest. Orders are orders. The gun is still on the books, still counted, still issued. Behind the lines, the German army quietly admits what you already learned in the snow. The Pa-36 is obsolete. Not officially, not yet, but in practice. Crews are instructed to avoid frontal engagements, to aim only at tracks, to fire only if escape routes exist. Euphemisms, paper solutions to a mechanical failure. By 1942, heavier guns finally replace it in frontline units. The 5cm Pa-38, the 7.5cm Pa-40. Weapons that can actually kill a T-34. But the damage is done. Thousands of men were asked to stand their ground with a weapon that could not protect them. Thousands learned, too late, that technological superiority doesn't forgive complacency. The Soviets remember the Pa-36 differently. Captured tankers joke about it in memoirs. They recall the sound, the harmless clang against armour. Some say they knocked back from inside the hull, others say they ignored it entirely. One tanker describes finishing a cigarette before firing back. Mockery becomes part of memory. For you, it becomes something else, a lesson carved into muscle and bone. Years later, after the war, you might see one in a museum. Small, unassuming, clean. A placard explains its early successes, its innovative design, its role in Blitzkrieg. Nothing about the winter, nothing about the men who died kneeling behind it. Nothing about the moment you realise the gun in your hands has already lost the war. Because history remembers weapons by what they were meant to do. Soldiers remember them by what they failed to do. And for the men who served the Pa-36 on the Eastern Front, that failure wasn't abstract. It was personal, it was immediate, it was fatal.